Alright, in today's video we're going to be covering the Alltest Pro Motor Genie instrument, which is designed for the testing and troubleshooting of single-phase and three-phase AC motors less than 1,000 volts. What comes in the case, besides our soft carrying case here, our manual quick start guide on a disc, our charging cable for anybody that has the Alltest 31, it's the exact same connection for that. And then our 3 sets of alligator clips. And then obviously the instrument with a rugged carrying case. Again, very good handheld instrument. On the actual instrument itself, there's connections up here for our alligator clips, our ground plug, and our charging port. As you can see, there's no communications port. This is simply a troubleshooting device. There is an optional software program, an app-based program for phones. I believe it's about $100 or less per year for the app to be downloaded and usable. What you would typically do on an instrument like this is if you don't have that app, you're handwriting a lot of the notes and readings that you take, and then you have to memorize the thresholds or refer back to your quick start guides for what becomes a problem, what kind of deviation from our tolerance is a problem. Whereas on the app, which I'll show later in the video, that once you enter all these values, it automatically outputs suggested problems and actions for the readings that you've taken. On the base of the instrument here, we have our display, and again, similar to our Alltest 33, it's the same left, right, up and down toggle, center key for select. It's also our 0 key, and then again on the bottom is our test button for our insulation to ground. We're going to hold that test key down. A mode is our back button if we get into readings and we want to back out. Other than that, we hold the button down here on the left. That's our on button for a couple seconds. The beauty of that is very rarely will the instrument turn off or turn on accidentally. You got to hold it down for a couple seconds. That way, if it you don't have to worry about it turning on in your pouch if you're carrying it around, your battery being dead upon trying to use the instrument. Similar to Alltest 33, a pretty normal, straightforward menu. Battery indicator on the far right. If you want to get your serial number of the device, it's the one just to the left of our battery indicator. If you want to turn the device off, power off is here. Our insulation to ground measurement, your Megger test, is done right here. You can toggle between 500 volts and 1 kV. And then our resistance reading, insulation resistance. And then our Z-Fi test. This is for our winding shorts that we're looking for, turn to turn, coil to coil, and phase to phase. And we'll get into that here when we get to our first test. Alright, here we are ready to take some measurements on our three-phase AC demo motor here with our Alltest Motor Genie. I have the app open. This is the free app that I mentioned. It is good for phones and tablets. And basically what I'm going to do is take a test, and it's asking me for my motor ID first. It's the ABB1. That's the entered name that I chose. We have the ability to create PDFs and reports from this template and email them directly or text them from your phone if you have Wi-Fi enabled. So you're going to want to make sure you name this however you plan on sending this out to management or a customer or a coworker. I name mine ABB1. And again, we're going to walk through this instrument taking test by test. The first one that we're going to take is our INS test, which is our insulation to ground test. So I'm going to go in here, and it's going to ask me to connect my leads, and I'm connecting my ground to the ground connection on the motor, and we're going to connect one of the clips to any one of the connections on the any one of the phases on the motor, and then all we're going to do is hold the test button down until we get a stable reading. Here's our test frequency. We can go between 500 volts and 1 kV. I'm going to hold the test key down until we get a stable reading, 500 volts. Exactly what we're looking for, and I'm going to enter that value on the app. 500 volts. Right below there I have my test voltage, so the app knows what I tested at. And then our next one is going to be our resistance readings. So I'm going to disconnect here again, and I'm going to hit the OK key on resistance. Connect red and black leads together, press 0 or OK. So basically it's asking us to zero these clips, and you're going to want to take the bottom teeth together on this, go on the instrument and hit OK, and it's going to zero them. Then it's going to ask us to connect to the motor. Connect leads to the motor, then press OK. So I'm going to connect here, and I'm going to try and do this in the same sequence for all of our tests. So we're going to do phase 1 to 2 first, then 1 to 3, and then 2 to 3 to finish for both our resistance and our Z-Fi test. And I have all my leads labeled, ready to go. So all I'm going to do is hit the OK key, and I'm going to jot these values down as I go in my app. So for phase 1 to 2, I'm going to enter 17.8 ohms. And then I'm going to go to phase 2 to 3, or excuse me, 1 to 3. Make sure the leads aren't touching. Hit OK. And again, I'm going to jot this value down. We're looking for any kind of deviation between the phases for this. This is simulating our voltmeter or digital multimeter test. And again, on the the motor, we're going to connect from 2 to 3 as our last test for resistance. Hit OK. The first test that we took again was going to be our Megger test. So based on what we've seen here with this motor, using a Megger and a voltmeter or digital multimeter, everything checks out. So we're only getting partial amount of the picture here. As I enter that value, it gives us a conclusion. 0 deviation between the phases, which ultimately is what we're looking for. And again, as I go down, green means good, obviously. So the next portion of the test, we're going to back out, and we're going to move over to the Z-Fi test on the instrument. I'm going to disconnect the leads again, and we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to get our impedance, current frequency response, and our phase angle as I jump through the test. So I hit the Z-Fi test, and I'm going to connect my ground again to the motor, and again doing the same sequence. I'm going to go 1 to 2 first, 1 to 3 second, and 2 to 3 last. So it's already automatically collected data on this setup. So for our impedance, 401, our phase angle down here is going to be what looks to be 64 degrees in the right. This is our test frequency down here. So I'm going to enter 64. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to hit the OK button. Excuse me, we're going to hit the test button. And it's going to double our test frequency. And this is what we're looking for here for our current frequency response. So -28 is the value we're going to enter. And we're going to do this all again with our next connection. So on the instrument, I'm just going to hit the test key again, and I'm going to switch from 1 to 2 to 1 to 3 and take my measurements again. So we have 381, 381. Phase angle for 1 to 3, looks like we have 66. Pretty good. And then again, we're going to go down and hold the test key down, double that test frequency from 200 to 400, and -31 is our current frequency response. And I'm going to enter that right here. And then we're going to go back over and do the test one final time on our phases 2 to 3. Now thus far everything's checked out, but as I connect from 2 to 3 here, my numbers are getting a little bit different all the way across the board. 478 for my impedance, 478. My phase angle is 43. And my current frequency response when I hit the test button and double our test frequency is -1. So, not knowing much about what any of these tests mean, we're looking for deviation. I don't know how well you can see this, but we have a pretty substantial deviation on our impedance, our phase angle, and our current frequency response. And it gives us greens, yellows, and reds for worn and bad. So again, the beauty of this is it's kind of outputting measurements and potential conclusions for our tests that we're taking. And it's keeping us from handwriting all these notes. If I hold the test button down, it actually outputs some findings for me. And this I can dump into a PDF and mail. I can save it, which will save it on the device that I'm taking the measurements on, or the app is generated. So it looks like this test was saved. If I want to generate a PDF, it will give me a little mini report on my ABB1 motor that I used. So again, a very simple and easy instrument, inexpensive, under $1,000 for the instrument, to troubleshoot and take measurements, not only resistance and insulation to ground measurements, but Z5 for potential winding issues, connection issues you'll find with your Megger and your digital multimeter as well. So again, very, very simple to use instrument, very little training needed. The app makes the job a lot easier and automates some of your conclusions.